checking someone's sales and they average all of a sudden and their sales just take a plummet. In 1 week they plummeted. So what am I going to look at to see what happened there? What is the first thing that I'm going to look at? They did, God bless you, 8 months good sales. All of a sudden they have a really bad month of sales. What am I looking at? What could cause that? Today's economy, maybe there was a big drop, maybe the stock market crashed down, maybe this is summer and nobody's around. So don't I need to look into like what caused this? Like, what would make my sales, I did well for 8 months in a row, what would make my sales plummet in 1 month? That's alarming to me. So I need to look what's happening around me. What's happening in the world, what's happening in the market system, did people go on vacation? You know, I work in a small town and everybody always buys my stuff. But lo and behold, everybody went on vacation. This is July. Everybody went on vacation. So people are not buying things. Or maybe I sell a product that's not always good in the summer. So those are things you also need to take into consideration because that affects the center, where the mean of your data. So now when you look at the measure of central tendency, which is your mean, medians, and modes, you might want to look at it a little bit differently. I find when we do this with mean, medians, and modes, you guys learn this since 8th grade. What is the mean? What is the median? The middle number. What is the mode? How many times did it occur? But what happens is, do you really know why? Like on Algebra 1, they will say, yeah, like, should I use the mean? Should I use the median? Do you really know why? It's which one represents the true center. If you have too many outliers, you're going to go with the median. So we're going to take a look at that. A frequency distribution is the way we basically start. A frequency distribution is a table, and it calculates or keeps track of how many times something occurred, a frequency. And we make a table. We use intervals of data. We count the number of entries in each class. The frequency is how many data entries we have for that class. And some of these are going to sound very similar to you. We also have a lower limit and an upper limit. These are your boundaries. A lower class limit, an upper class limit, and a class width. This is going to be really, really important. A class width. A number of classes, how many entries in your table? I'm going to always tell you that, how many entries in your table. In the business world, no one's going to tell you that. You're going to figure that out for yourself. And you use kind of general rule of thumb. Do I want to see a graph with like 25 bars on it? No. Do I want to see a graph with 3 bars on it? No. So generally somewhere between 5 and 15 bars, depending on what it is you're measuring and how close your data is. The range, you know, the range is the difference from the max to the min. That tells me how spread out is my data. What am I looking at? So there's quite a lot of things that we're going to take a look at. Now, to set up your table, to find your class width, this is where it's really, really important. You guys haven't done this before. To find your class width, I think I put that on your notes as well. You're going to take your maximum entry, the highest entry you have, the minimum entry, the lowest entry you have. You're going to subtract them, and you're going to divide by how many classes we want. In other words, how many entries in your table do we want? Sometimes this gives you a decimal. So you are going to round up to the nearest whole number all the time. This is important. And then we're going to start our table that way. We're going to start our table with the lowest entry. We don't start like if our table, like back in 8th grade, you usually went 0 through 5, 6 through 10. You know, you always went that way. You made nice little numbers. We don't do that. We don't use decimals unless all our numbers are decimals, but we try to make our table fit our data a little bit better. So here's guidelines for constructing a frequency distribution. You're going to determine the number of classes And somewhere, I don't like 20, I say 15. They say 20, I say 15. But you don't want too many bars. Too many bars and your graph kind of loses its value. You're going to find your class width and always round up. You're going to start with your minimum entry, and we're going to work our way up. You're going to put your tally, count your frequency. We're going to count up your tallies. This is your frequency distribution table. We use this to start everything. We also are going to have a little column for the midpoint. The midpoint of a class is exactly that, the point in the middle. And we're going to find that. To do that, you take the lower plus the higher, add them together, divide by 2. It sounds bad, but once you start doing this, it's not so bad. We do relative frequency. A relative frequency is just like a ratio part, a part to the whole. Generally, this gives us decimals. We do cumulative frequency. We keep adding up our frequencies. We'll do one at a time. So, for example, this is a good place to start. The data set lists the prices in dollars of 30 portable GPS systems. Construct a frequency distribution that has 7 classes. In other words, our table has to have 7 entries. So the first thing we do is we find your minimum entry. What's your minimum entry here? What is it?
65.
What's your maximum? 340? Okay. We find our range. 340 minus 65. And I don't have any of this written down. So this is 275, right? So to find our, we're going to do this, 7 classes. To find our class width, we're going to take your maximum, same as you did your range, minus your minimum over the number of classes. So this is your max minus your min divided by 70. 7. And you're going to get an answer. And you're always going to round this up to the next whole number. So 40 is going to be your class width. This is really, really important that you get this class width part. How we do this is we start your table with your lowest entry, 65. Your class width, we're going to add to 65. So 40 plus 65. This is where your 40 goes. 105. What's the number that comes before 105? 104. Now, I'm going to move my table down in a second. But I want you to see, we start at your smallest number, 65. This is where your class width exists. If I did this, if I had a really small table, if my class width was 5, and I started at 2, here's my table, and I add my class width, 7, this goes to 6. It only looks like it has 4, right? But 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has 5. You subtract and have to add 1. So instead of worrying about that part, bring your class width all the way down. And then also add it to this side too, because that'll bring you all the way down. You won't make that mistake. So let's start your table. Let me bring up my table. We started at 65. We added 40. We're going to add 40. And keep adding 40 all the way down. I want 7. Okay. Now, just find one. This is my beginning, my lower limit. Find one upper limit. It's the guy before this. They can't be the same. because then what category do you put it in? So they cannot overlap. Now add 40 all the way down. This is your table that you'll use. This is the table. They also set this up as well. We're going to work on one our own. So if you see it on the bottom of page 41, they set this table up. How do I get my tallies in here? How do I do this part? Same as you always did. Count, you kind of go through your data, right? I can't keep scrolling back and forth, but if you look at your data, my first data is 128. Oh, 128 falls right in here, right? My second piece of data, if I go down or across, I'll go across, is 100. There's my tick mark. My third piece of data, 180, put a tick mark. Everybody comfortable with this part? Okay, and we do that. At the end, we count up all our tick marks. This is our frequency. This is why this is called the frequency distribution table. How is your frequency distributed? So at the end, you add up all your frequencies. We're going to do one together, and I'm going to give you a sheet so we can do it together. When you get all your frequencies done, this guy right here has to add up to how many data entries you've had. If it doesn't, something happens to your table. Okay. The only thing we probably changed on you is this piece right here. Because usually someone gave you where to start, and it was always like nice easy numbers like 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89. Wasn't it kind of easy, like obvious like that? We do ours a little differently because the first number is the guy that's going to drive this. I don't need all that extra space on my graph before this. The last one will catch my last one. If I only went by 39, I'm not going to catch my last number. I'll be short in that category. So that's why we always round up. If I went by 39s, I would be too short right here and I wouldn't catch that last value. Sometimes yeah, but most of the times no. Questions on this part? This is the most important part about setting up your table. We're going to work with, do 60 divided by 7. What do you get? 8.5. And this, we have to round up to 9. So our class width will be 9. Good? Always round up. If we didn't, we followed the rules of rounding, we sometimes might round down and we won't fit the last thing. So we're going to always round up. So we're going to start with your first entry, your minimum entry. This is where your class width goes, right here. Add 9, all the way down. Whoops. Sorry, doesn't make sense. I left this here for totals. Just write totals on the last row. And I know it couldn't be 89. Why? Because 86 is our highest, right? What's the number that comes before 35? 34. If you count 26 to 34 on your fingers, you get 9. If you subtract them, you get 8, but you always have to add one more in because of that endpoint. So just take this now, go like this, pick the number before that, and add 9 all the way down. In other words, 26 falls into here. But please don't write in your book. 31 falls into here. 35 falls here. 37, see it? 43, and I got 3 of these guys. When you get to 5, make a slash. That's 5. 44 here. 45. They're not. It's nice because it's in order. 47, 48, 48. 59, 50, and keep going with this. You can even count how many you want and then put the tick marks because they're all in order. Put your tallies, add them up, and give me your frequencies. This is the most important part, setting up this table. And as you can see by doing this, you're really only looking at the numbers that you need. We didn't start it at 20 to 29, 30 to 39, because we really had nobody before 26. So 26 is our beginning number. Add up your frequencies, see if they're correct, make sure they add up to 50. We want this total down here to be 50. So the top 50 most powerful women in the world in 2012. Finish them? So, what did we get for this one? The first class. From here, this 26 to 34?
Yeah,
What?
it's 2, right?
It's 2?
Yeah.
Okay, 2. I thought you said, I thought somebody said 0. What's this one? 5. I stopped here, so you had to go on. 12. 18. Is it 18? Yep, 18. Go ahead. 11. Did they add up to 50?
So,
Good. Now, again, looking at your table distribution, you can kind of see, yeah, I don't have too many people that old, and I have a few young people. I see my ages coming in the middle, but tomorrow we're actually going to put this to a graph and take a look at what this does. We're going to work on a couple more of these categories, these columns, so make sure you bring this back.